are you the best Democrat to beat Trump?
What makes you so confident you should be the president?
What advice did your family give you as president?
You know, at the outset of our nation, it was the character of George Washington, our first president, to define the presidency. He believed power was limited, not absolute. And that power always resides with the people, always. Now, over 200 years later, with today's Supreme Court decision, once again, it will depend on the character of the men and women who hold that presidency that are going to define the limits of the power of the presidency, because the law will no longer do it. I know I will respect the limits of the presidential powers I have for 3.5 years, but any president, including Donald Trump, will now be free to ignore the law. I concur with Justice Sotomayor's dissent today. Here's what she said. She said, in every use of official power, the president is now a king above the law. With fear for our democracy, I dissent. End of quote. So should the American people dissent. I dissent. May God bless you all, and may God help preserve our democracy. Thank you. And may God protect our troops.
Shame on you. 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 Shame on you.
We love Trump! We love Trump! We love Trump! We love Trump!
Well, we have a big case today. This judge isn't allowing me to go. We have a big case today in the Supreme Court on presidential immunity. A president has to have immunity. If you don't have immunity, you just have a ceremonial president. You won't have immunity.
Do you know?
They've taken my constitutional right away with a gag order. That's all it is. It's election interference. This whole thing is election interference. But the argument on immunity is very important. The president has to have immunity. This has nothing to do with me. This has to do with a president in the future, for 100 years from now.
We would be creating a situation in which we would be saying, this is what you're asking us to say, which is that a president is entitled not to make a mistake, but more than that, a president is entitled for total personal gain to use the trappings of his office without facing criminal liability.
Your Honor, I would say three things in response to that. First, the doctrine that immunity does not turn on the allegedly improper motivation or purpose is something that this court has reaffirmed in at least 9 or 10
That's
cases.
absolute immunity, but qualified immunity does say that whatever act you take has to be within what a reasonable person would do.
So what was up with the pardon? What was up with the pardon for President Nixon?
I think
if everybody thought that presidents couldn't be prosecuted, then what was that about?
well, he was under investigation for both private and public conduct at the time, official acts and private conduct. And I think everyone has properly understood that the president, since like President Grant's carriage riding incident, everyone has understood that the president could be prosecuted.
Counsel,
private conduct.
on that score, there does seem to be some common ground between you and your colleague on the other side, that no man's above the law, and that the president can be prosecuted after he leaves office for his private conduct. Is that right?
We agree with that.
What is the consequence in terms of going forward with your acknowledgement that those are private acts as opposed to official acts?
The official stuff has to be expunged completely from the indictment before the case can go forward, and there has to be a determination, at least on remand, of what's official, a two-stage determination of what's official and what's private.
Well, if you expunge the official part from the indictment, how do you, I mean, that's like a one-legged stool, right? I mean, giving somebody money isn't bribery unless you get something in exchange. And if what you get in exchange is to become the ambassador to a particular country, that is official, the appointment. It's within the president's prerogatives. The unofficial part is I'm going to get $1 million for it. So if you say you have to expunge the official part, how does that go forward?
This particular indictment, where we say virtually all the overt conduct is official, we don't believe it would be able to go forward.
In assessing the official acts of a president, do you differentiate between the president acting as president and the president acting as candidate?
Yes, we do, and we don't dispute, essentially, the blazing game discussion of that.
Okay.
But of course, that has to be done by objective determinations, not by looking at what was the purpose of what you did this.
But again, I say presidential immunity, very powerful. Presidential immunity is imperative, or you practically won't have a country anymore. Thank you very much. Thank you.
What's your response to Arizona